What's up, homies? Nicholas M. Whittier here. End of 2024. Been literal years since the second part of the Falcon versus Sheik tutorial came out. You know, a lot of crazy shit happened in my life. Melee, and especially making Melee content, couldn't exactly be a priority. But here I am with part 3 of the Falcon versus Sheik tutorial. So, you know, in this tutorial, we're mostly going to talk about, like, really hyper-situational optimization, some rules of thumb, some ideas for how to deal with tricky situations. But before we get into that, let's get into some macro game ideas, some neutral game spacings, which I did touch on in the first part of the tutorial. Okay, so if you recall, in part 1 of the tutorial, I talked about how Falcon's neutral air is not very good in neutral in this matchup, and I also mentioned his back air has similar problems. So, you know, as a reminder, Sheik's attacks are really fast and her hitboxes are really good. So if you press your buttons at the same time, hers will tend to win. So because of this, you'll have to leverage your movement and figure out ways to use your crouch cancel in order to beat her. So this spacing that we have on screen over here, basically if you're this range or closer, any closer than this especially, then you're kind of in danger. However, a lot of getting better at Melee is getting comfortable flirting with the more dangerous zones, learning how to bait your opponent by getting close to their bubble. And because crouch cancel is one of the more effective tools, sometimes being on the edge of the threat range is the way you can entice her to try to do something unsafe. So if you're around this range against Sheik, call this 1 foxtrot length, you're kind of in a shitty position. You still have some play because you're not under immediate threat from like a forward tilt. And, you know, you can crouch cancel if she dash attacks, but you don't really have much threat on her. You know, if you do dash towards her, you're pretty likely to just get stuffed by whatever. And like running up and grabbing won't really work here if she's crouching. The way that hitboxes and hurtboxes interact with the crouch, even though you can technically grab her on a practical level, it doesn't really work. So, you know, it's pretty tricky. You know, she's going to have a hard time opening you up if you're crouching. But because of this, often it comes down to, do you try to reposition and maybe get caught by like a boost grab or something as you're trying to reposition? Or do you hold crouch thinking she might attack right away with something other than grab? So, you know, I said you do want to flirt with these threat ranges, but you have to weave in and out pretty quick. Don't let her set up on you. And a lot of times, like I said, you know, Nair Bear, your wall is not really robust in this matchup. So a lot of times it's about like throwing something out that'll fuck her up if she comes in, or going deep and like trying to call her out of her own movement potentially, versus just moving quickly and non-committally on your end. So because, like I said, a lot of times you want to either not be like going, you know, not zoning against Sheik, not using, you know, attacks like this. She's pretty highly encouraged to spam her up tilt. Even if you space really well, her up tilt will often beat your moves, usually trade with it. If not, almost never cleanly gets beat by a Falcon aerial, even if you space really well. So let's talk specifically about how you can space around this up tilt, which has extremely low end lag and is therefore a pretty light commitment for her. Alright, here's some footage I just recorded on the CRT. So this is like what a dash dance looks like against forward tilt generally, a good clean dash dance. And this is usually able to be accomplished from a little bit further back than on the up tilt. Yeah, see that? See like right there how far back I was able to stand and still whip punish that? Okay, now on the other hand, the real trick to playing against up tilt is to punish after the first hit before the second hit. That's where there's more end lag. So you can grab between the hits, like and it's a true punish, even like if you hit by the first hit on your ASC or counter crouch cancel. But she can move after the second hit. So that is not when you want to whip punish. So you have to be really close and really primed to punish. So this can extend to other situations too, right? So okay, see how that dash is a little bit closer right there. Go back to, but and then here's some examples of like doing it. See, a lot of times they'll use like run crouch to set up the up tilt. On the other hand, see right there, crouch cancel grab between the hits. Works out cleanly. And you can shield grab between the hits. You can even ASDI down by shielding, grabbing, holding down, getting hit by the first hit, and then grabbing again. Right here, I just got hit like on shield by the first hit, and then got a grab. But see, like there, you can get turned around by the grab. And a lot of times, Sheiks are quite predictable setting up with their up tilt by walking and like getting behind your shield. And then they'll try to convert that into a grab, just because the startup's a little bit faster on up tilt, and it'll beat you if you start a jump or potentially roll. A lot of Sheiks will just spam roll into up tilt, and it's really hard to react to because you have to be really quick to get there before the up tilt, super fucking quick, and then there's so little end lag after the second hit, and you'd have to be so well spaced to punish the first hit. If they do this a lot, instead of, you know, being slow and then getting up tilt into grabbed, you know, you can consider just fucking pivot forward smashing her, and it'll just beat it. So obviously that's a hard call out, right? There's no like reaction involved with the forward smash. Just a habit read that roll into up tilt is very common. Surely you've heard many times in your life, use crouch cancel. That's a really good advice. On the other hand, how does one actually implement it into your game? How do you integrate it into your movement while not being awkward and not sacrificing a lot of other things, given that Falcon does most of his attacks by jumping? So first of all, pretty obvious ones. If it's like a scrap, it's pretty good. That reduces your options to just grab, which means you only have to play against grab. You know, if you're scared, like try using crouch cancel instead of shield. But let's actually talk about some spacings that'll come up in neutral game. So it's really important to recognize the minimum distance that you can activate crouch after run. So once your initial dash ends, you can press down and enter crouch, but you can't do it during your dash. And if you do it too soon, then it just won't go off. So at this spacing in front of Sheik, I could activate run crouch. It'll go off like right in front of her, right on top of her, and even displace her character model slightly. See, it pushed her just a little bit to the left right there. So even though I could technically run crouch and be right in front of Sheik, you know, from this range, you wouldn't really ever want to do that. Not only could you just get grabbed, but what's actually infinitely more likely to happen is that she just stuffs you as if you were going to jump in, because the attack that she chooses will just hit you before your crouch activates. So in order to use crouch, you'll have to run further back and use your greater ground speed. So don't be afraid to give up a lot of stage. Just come back in though, and, you know, space yourself so your crouch would be like here, like at the tip of a forward tilt, but out of the range of her grab. Now, this is obviously only one spacing. You get other utility from falling back, right? So you can also just come back in and respace a regular dash dance. You can crouch like here or whatever, try to be at the edge of the range where she might dash stack you, try to trick her into catching you out of your movement. Also, try to catch her out of her movement by like overshooting in the middle ground or something, right? She's probably trying to jockey for position too. And if you're just dash dancing like this and then doing nairs and shit, your overshoot like that is never going to work. It's just not, because it'll just get stuffed. But if you can catch her as she's moving forward, then you're infinitely more likely to be able to land a juicy opening like a stomp or a run-up grab than if you're only doing standard mid-range dash dances. So there's some other, you know, cute mid-range options you can do if you do end up in a spot that you're not really comfortable in. You know, what if, like, you crouch here and then nothing happens for a second? Then, like, she might start setting up on you, even just walking forward, or maybe she did, like, a Sheik dash dance kind of thing where she did, like, a little foxtrot back and then she's coming back in and you're scared. So let's look at a few clips of Wizrobe and S2J. Okay, some of these clips have different overlays and widescreen, but you should see them just fine. Okay, so this is the Wizzy thing that I said, the wave dash. So just a clean neutral win right there, right? He's at 75 too. This shit works still really high percent. So if you can just make her think you might come in and then crouch cancel at the edge of the range, really good, really good. Okay, so here's some S2J down tilts. A lot of them will be when the opponent's airborne, because then they're not going to get crouch canceled the same way. This can get crouch canceled till really high percent, so be careful about that. But so, you know, he tries to read a jump out there after the down tilt, doesn't get it, but still, good down tilt. Here's one against Spark, similar thing. You know, if Sheik's at the edge of that range too, you know, that like kind of advantaged range, she's likely to make a move of some kind too, and not just hold down. So it catches him there, doesn't combo, but pretty good. Right here too. See, coming down from a platform, boom, down tilt, gets a knee right there. So, you know, it gives you a little bit more play if you're just holding down, like at the edge of your effective range. So here's one where it gets crouch canceled, and then he's actually gets dash attacked. You can ASA on attack dash attack, and then still try to get a counter hit after that. So yeah, that's just a couple additional mid-range options I want to point out for when you get into these kind of sticky situations against Sheik to give you a little bit more play besides like retreating stomp. Quick rule of thumb when it comes to defense against Sheik: if you're popped up at a low percent or airborne, jumping out is usually good. Even if you're not put in knockdown by like a tilt, you'll usually land at enough frame disadvantage so she can just run up and grab you anyway, which you really want to avoid. So jumping out can be good. Sometimes you can squeeze an up air out, even on like double jab, like on jab resets. Like sometimes if you smash that well, you can even squeeze out an up air and counter hit her. But generally speaking, jumping away is good. Sometimes smash jabbing up can help make sure that this doesn't happen. So right there, you know, he did a double jump, Wizzy did, and he was that he was able to just get a counter hit with an up air, which could have led to a kill potentially. Okay, and here's a sillier one. But okay, so he tried to jump out right there. He didn't get it, but then he does like a little triangle land through. So yeah, even air dodging through the fucking tilts can still be a good idea, even if it feels a little bit jank. Just make sure you don't get popped up into grab. That's like one of the worst possible things at 1% especially. So I said you want to flirt with these threat zones pretty often, you know, get close, try to bait her into hitting you unsafely. So we talked a lot in the first tutorial about dealing with forward tilt. Here's just a few rules about dealing with dash attack. So first of all, if she hits you and you're at crouch cancel percent, you can stomp her. You can also grab her, which is easier. Stomp is ideal, obviously. Now, even if you get hit and she goes far away, hits you with the reverse dash attack, then you can still dash jump stomp her. Now, if you get hit at a really high percent, past crouch cancel percent, where you know you're not putting knockdown, you can still tech it and grab her right away. And remember, that goes for if you're like trying to dash away out of danger at lower percents, right? You can ASA down while you dash away rather than do the true crouch cancel. And if you get caught by a dash attack or potentially a forward tilt, you can still counter hit her. Now, one more thing I want to say about dash attack: if you are at really high percent, and you know downholing isn't gonna work, be cognizant of the possibility of getting hit by a reverse dash attack. So like if she hits you really deep in the dash attack, instead of like DIing right, then in this spacing right here, then you'd have to DI left because you'll get hit the opposite direction. Otherwise you'll go straight up and you'll get comboed into fair and just die. We've got to talk about Sheik back air for a minute. This shit is actually a huge fucking mess. So I'm not going to go into as much detail as I thought. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to condense this, and maybe I'll make a part 4 of the video because I really can't. There's too many percents in different situations. But okay, first of all, if it's spaced well and hit like, you know, low to the ground or whatever, you're definitely not going to get a true punish on it, right? So that in itself is going to get crouch cancel. But the different hitboxes of it and the interactions with Sakurai angles are actually so fucking complicated with this move. So first of all, you know, let's just say at 0, if you get hit by strong back air, you can't like true crouch cancel it. See, you get popped up for a second. But then on top of that, there's 2 weak hitboxes that have other Sakurai angle properties. So here it's 1 stale. But okay, so like right there, you know, you're very likely to accidentally spot dodge if you're trying to quickly buffer down throw, which is pretty good against Sheik because you can re-grab if they're not ready. So I guess maybe pummel for good measure. In that case, even if you press A, you'll still get a jab, which is obviously bad, but better than spot dodging in front of them if you're trying to CC grab really quick. So, right there, that was 17% for the medium strength hitbox. It was one tail, and then you were able to crouch cancel it, and of course there's ASCI down instead of crouch cancel too. So as you see right there, that's the weakest hitbox. That's the one that's like closest to her crotch or whatever, or in front of her. That one you can't CC for random fucking percents when they're lower because of soccer angle shit or whatever too. So basically, if you're above 0, then crouch cancel on the strong back air is good. If you're at low mid percents, watch out for the weak back airs on your true crouch cancel, and just don't accidentally like spot dodge or whatever because you're not actionable as fast as you thought trying to crouch cancel grab or something. It's really not great move to use CC and ASCI down against, but it'll come up in the situation a lot. So just making sure you're not shitting yourself and consistently making errors because of this is super important. Let's talk punish game. Up throw, up air, the best starting point, the most bread and butter of bread and butters. So as far as I know, this starts working at 30% even when you're in port 1. So should be able to hit it even without her jumping out before she hits the ground. So 30 is the percent that I believe it works at, but let's talk about hitting it for just a second. So it's actually possible to do it too fast. This is why a lot of the time, if you get a grab in the corner and you have only the smallest amount of space to dash, if you do an immediate dash jump, immediate up air, you'll miss the Sheik, get back aired, and get gimped, and it's very frustrating. So, like this, it feels bad, man. Yeah, and get back air, back air, back air. You actually need to dash for like 2 or 3 frames or something, and I believe you can jump and then also delay the up air by a frame or 2, which I think is what you need to do if you get that grab like all the way in the corner where you only have a pixel to get your dash out. So yeah, be cognizant of that. And though 30% is the percent where it actually works, it's not the percent that you want her at. You want her at 32. This is because if you throw her, then she'll go into tumble, and it can result in a knockdown. Which is much better than like this clip I'll show in a second with S2J, where you can easily get reversaled by a Sheik DIing your up air to the ground and then getting actionable sooner than you, maybe even just starting a crouch, which will dodge your follow-up grab. So one more thing, that percent is extremely important, right? So this means pummeling is really valuable. So one way you can practice pummeling so your opponent does not get a mash out is by going into the color overlay section on the hack pack. So right here I have weight as gold, and I realize most people use Uncle Punch, but as far as I know, this I don't think this is available on Uncle Punch yet. I don't know, I've just been familiarizing myself more with the recent updates. But anyway, see that little magenta flash? That is the frames where you can act while you're in a grab, meaning that you have grabbed them, you can either pummel or you can throw. So if you do a pummel and a throw, optimally back to back, they will not flash that color at all, and they won't be able to mash out. So sometimes even being greedy and squeezing in 2 pummels can actually be worth it, because like quite often you'll actually have Sheiks at like 29% or so, which is just a very common percent, and going for the extra pummel to get her into the juicier up throw up air percent where it'll combo better is actually worthwhile and really important. Okay, so this is an up throw up air, but same thing, same percent basically. So I assure you this can happen if the Sheik has good DI. S2J lands what looks like a really juicy combo potential. Crudo just smartly DIs, gets to the ground so fast. Now he's crouching. no way for SU to actually follow up here, but it's so hard to react, right? You want to keep the combo going. Like, such a good opening. Same thing can happen off from there too, by the way. And then just hit the down tilt. So yeah, you really do want that extra percent, because when she gets to the ground and is actionable right away, you're not actually getting a combo, and you're liable to get reversal off it too. Two more things about up throw up air real quick. Anytime in any matchup you're looking for up air into knee, full hop up air, double jump knee, what you want to do is do the up air and then switch to claw, assuming you're not already clawing. The reason for this is the up air will lead to a combo on DIs in, and it can be sometimes like different exact percents and spacings. And if you're not clawing, it's so much easier to mess up the spacing and accidentally hit them across the stage instead of toward the blast zone, and your combo will save them. So this doesn't happen that much against Sheik, and I don't know how to make this computer DI properly for this situation, but I assure you it can happen. It'll happen more against Peach or really heavier characters, like, you know, a situation like right there. You can only hit with full drift to the side, so it wouldn't matter. But a lot of times, it can matter. Okay, and the other thing is, if you're on a shit controller like this one I just dug out of my fucking closet, you might get back throws or some shit, and they might get out of your combo tree when you're trying to up throw. So on top of, you know, people who might have gotten used to like using the C stick instead of the control stick, there's actually a workaround, and this can be worth knowing just so you don't mess up no matter what. So you can only buffer down throw, right? You can pummel, buffle down throw, but if you pummel, then go full to the side. See, I'm holding all the way to the right. You can see in the overlay, up here, I'm holding to the right, and it doesn't throw. But if you go from right to up, it will throw. So you can pummel, hold all the way to the right, and then rotate to up. And that way your controller will never mess up, and you'll never mess it up if you get that in your muscle memory. Little optimization here for up throw, up airing, and ledge guard situations. Instead of doing a turnaround grab like this, in situations where you don't have enough time to do a strong attack, do a pivot grab like that, and that'll give you more space to get your dash out. And yeah, I'd say around 60s also, this is really helpful. Obviously, reverse kneeing and stuff is good too, but there's times where you want to stand up. Using up air, even the reverse up air like that, almost always better than using back air to combo in this map. So if you see like with up air, see right there that true combo, but even if you use reverse back air, you can get put in like a weird height. And this applies, you know, in other situations where you know, back air like that. See, she's just like at a height where you can't really get quite the combo you want. And it's pretty much true regardless of percent too. It's not just like this one situation. So instead of, you know, back air kneeing like that, get good at doing like startup of the reverse hitbox as well, and that will for sure combo better quite consistently against Sheik. So part of the reason why that up air works better than back air thing has to do with exactly where she's at based on the way her hurtbox contorts when she's in hit stun. She becomes like a pancake. But this also means that she's really, really forgiving for the spacing for nipple spike. It works really well. So look how like not high she has to be for me to nipple spike her. Like she can be really low. That was too low. But like right there, see, she still gets nipple. And one thing I want to say is don't settle for double knee. Sometimes you can double knee at 30 or 40, but you'll live to regret it because you won't seal out the ledge guard. I've definitely lost at least 2 sets to Spark because I pussied out on nipple spiking in the last moment. You can absolutely get a knee to nipple spike on bad DI quite easily on Sheik really often. So, like, here's me playing net play literally today. So yeah, like in those kind of situations, absolutely do not settle for double knee. Double knee, I'm sure, is your comfort thing, but if you can nipple spike them at like 30, obviously off of like the stomp thing would be great too, off of neutral air, off of up air, all of these things connect better on Sheik. I mentioned in part 2 of the tutorial how when Sheik upbeats to the platform on Battlefield that it can be really favorable to short hop knee her. It can be like the easiest way to close out the kill. So right here I have the infinite shield on, so this is a full shield with no angling. So if they're holding the shield to the side a little bit for a shield drop, this can sometimes be even easier and the shield can decay slightly. So she's actually quite susceptible to getting shield poked by knees on the platform. So you really do need to aim at her feet though, because the middle of the shield will be the lowest and you can't hit right there or else she'll just shield it. And you know, character models are really weird in Melee. Like, it actually does matter depending on which way she's facing and how her body's leaning. But just something to keep in mind that shield poking her, if you get her to shield on the platform on Battlefield, can actually be really strong. And their DI will usually be terrible. Okay, homies, so that takes us to the end of this tutorial. I know it was pretty long and didn't actually have that much information in terms of a lot of stuff covered. Just really specific stuff. And there was so much stuff that I had in this video that I edited out, so that's also kind of why a lot of it looks like shit in terms of like the overlays and stuff. There's so many years of trying to decide exactly what I'm putting in and which things I felt like were most important. So I'm pretty likely to release a 4th part at some point with even more very niche situational stuff. So yeah, that's probably a thing. Thanks for all the support. I'm sorry this literally took years. Like, so fucking long since the 2nd part. It was a royal pain in the ass, but it's finally done. It's out there. I'm going to be going pretty hard in Melee the next year. My life has actually started to settle down after so much shit hitting the fan in the last couple of years. So I'm going to be putting out quite a bit of content. Shorter combo videos. Gonna write the part 3 of the baiting article next before any more video tutorials, and I do have another article that I want to write as well. So yeah, there's still a lot to do, and I'm going to be playing a lot, so shout out to 69%apparel.com if you want some of the drip. Should also be getting sponsored by Rectangle Corner, rectanglecorner.com. Hook me up with some cool stuff. Played on this crosscut for a little bit recently. Now I'm trying the bubble box, so we'll see what I end up playing on. Still having a blast playing the game, even if my results haven't quite been there recently. Melee is sick, and hopefully this makes Falcon versus Sheik less painful. Still give coaching, still stream Nickemwit on Twitch, and obviously here on YouTube. Alright, later.